Alrighty y'all, you've been following the channel for a while. You've probably heard me talk about bid breakdowns. Today we're going to do a Patreon peek. Coming up, I'm going to show you guys the bid breakdown. It's something I normally would just post on Patreon for the patrons over there. That starts at $5 a month if you want the bid breakdowns. Hopefully you guys can get something out of it for your business. The biggest question I get from people is how to bid jobs or how to find jobs, and at least this is covering half of that. This project was just for my buddy, so this isn't actually a customer project, but this style of sign, this size, this basic setup is something I do all the time. If you get something from it, hopefully I'll see you over there on Patreon. If you don't like it, send me a message before your next bill cycle, the next first of the month, and I'll refund you your contribution. No harm, no foul, no hard feelings. Let's go. Hey, patrons, welcome back to another one of these bid breakdowns. This job is obviously going to be a little bit different than a normal project because this was something done for a friend of mine as opposed to a customer job, but I do these sort of signs so often that I feel like this is something that I can show you guys about. It's kind of bread and butter, easy side money if you're already doing this, if you're in the shop every day. If you get a reputation for this sort of stuff, and you can do 4 or 5 of them at the same time, or even better, have one customer order 4 or 5, these are great money makers. They're good money makers anyway, but they can be great. Material wise, let's just jump right through our costs pretty quick. You can see we're using up, barely more than a quarter of a sheet of 14 gauge hot rolled in this case. The sign's 23.5 on a side square. So we have the face and then the stencil piece, which is always worth it to me to, use the extra metal up to make that stencil. Then we've got the background, of course, which is just a square cutout, and our wrench and hammer we had to cut. So we use less than a third of a sheet, but sometimes you're going to go a little higher, sometimes you might have a cut go bad, whatever. It's a good idea to kind of just build this in at a half of a sheet worth of cost, so that's what we'll do. A sheet of 14 gauge hot roll right now is running me $54, so that's half of that's $27. Now we've got our studs. These weld studs are not super cheap compared to a piece of threaded rod or even a bolt, but they're worth it to me in the time saving. So is the machine, but like I said in the video, it's a choice you got to make for yourself. So 15 number 10 half-inch long studs. I buy all my studs in stainless just because then I don't have to worry about what application I'm using them in, and the stainless studs are like 5% more than copper-plated mild steel ones, so why not? So we got 15 of them. They run anywhere from like 25 cents to 40 cents a piece, so we'll just call it 3 for $1. That makes it $5 for 15 of them. The machine screws, same sort of setup. I was actually out of the size we needed, so we ran over to Lowe's and just picked up 2 of the little 10-pack baggies that come with a nut. You know what I'm talking about. Those are like $1.39 or something each, so we'll call it $3 for 2 bags of those. And then the coupler nuts. These coupler nuts are stupid expensive if you go to Lowe's. You're going to pay like $3 for 2 of them. And at Home Depot, and at Fastenal, and everywhere. I'm not dogging on anybody in particular. The way to get these is go on eBay. I buy them in bulk packs of 500, and I think it's like $130, $140, something like that for like 500 of them. It's totally worth it to me. I use them up fast enough that I have to order a bag of 500 multiple times a year, so it's not like I'm not going through them, and it brings the per unit price way down. It's under 50 cents a piece, probably closer to 25, but for the sake of argument, we'll call it 3 for $1 again. So that's going to make us $5 worth of coupler nuts here. Now the thing to point out here before we go further is coupler nuts in number 10 and quarter 20 are both generally 7/8 of an inch long. And that's important because when you account for the welded area of the stud, which is going to make the stud a little bit shorter than what its rated length is, and then the piece of material that you got to go through, you got to make sure that your machine screw and your stud are going to be basically less than an inch. It's ideal if you can get them less than 7/8 of an inch. So when we get machine screws, what you want to do is, if you've got half-inch studs, you want to go get 3/8 machine screws or 7/16 if you can get them. I had some 7/16 studs and those were perfect, but can't always find them at a reasonable price. So just keep that in mind if you're going to approach this sort of idea. Same thing if you're going to weld bolts on like I show in the video. Use a 1/2 inch long bolt, and you might even have to grind them down a little bit if you can't find like a 3/8 bolt. So just be aware that that might be something that comes up for you. Or you can always stand them off like we did with the nuts here on the hammer. So the rest of the cost, really, we got paint. In this case, we used stuff I have in stock that was leftovers from other jobs. Generally, when I go buy paint for a job, I just buy like 3 or 4 cans and then have it around. I probably got 250 cans of paint at the shop, and we try to take good care to, not open a new one till we've used the last one up or it's gone bad, so that they stay fresh. So I really didn't have a cost here, but realistically, you're going to buy 3-4 cans of paint, or maybe if this is going outside, you're going to be sending this off for powder coat. And powder coat, you might be looking at probably $40-$45 for something like this, as long as you're willing to wait a little while for your powder coater to be able to change colors out. So there is some cost there. We're going to call it $20 in this case. We used 5 colors. They're generally running, we used 4 colors, and they're generally running, $5 a can. So there you go, and a little bit of primer in there. And then a little bit of miscellaneous, right? We used a splash of acetone. We used some paper towels. We used, a 1/20 of a grinder disc, something like that. So we're just going to throw $5 on there on top for miscellaneous. Now we're going to jump to time. And little jobs, time becomes really important on the design side, because, you can't sell a sign. Like, I don't know that I could get anybody to buy this sign for $1,000. But if they gave me files that took me 6 hours of design time, that's what this, we'd need to be up in that range for this to make sense. So you just got to watch it, and you got to be real clear with your customers. I'm blunt with people. I'm like, look, here's your price. This is assuming an hour of design time. Design time after that is at shop rate. You're going to be paying $100 an hour. So, hopefully you have your logos. Hopefully you're a little bit flexible if you don't. And, if I've got to trace something, or if I've got to find a font that you don't know and it's not the exact perfect font, don't stress. And if you've got customers that get that, or especially ones that bring you their logo in vector format, keep them happy. They're good. They're good customers to have. In this case, Jim Ed didn't have vector files, but he had a pretty good quality image, and his logo is pretty simple. I was just able to trace it with an auto trace, and then found a font that was pretty close, and he was good with it. So it might have been, we're going to call it an hour. It might have been 45 minutes, but either way, I was sitting there drinking a beer at my computer at the end of the day, so I really didn't care. It wasn't that much work. Build time, we're messing around. We were at the shop for about 5 or 6 hours, but we're messing around and talking about making videos and all sorts of stuff, and we went out to lunch, so I'm not going to count that. Realistically, this is a job that's made up of a bunch of half hours and 15 minutes, right? So we're half hour to load a sheet of metal up, cut the piece, get it ground, set it off to the side. A half hour to put studs on it, make sure everything lines up right, the holes are in the right spot, fix anything that needs fixing, put it off to the side, put some primer on it. That takes 5 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it is. You come back an hour later, flip it over, put some more primer on. I like to do 2 coats of primer and a bunch of coats of paint. And so it's not a lot of hourly time, but if you're sitting at the shop with this being the only thing you're doing, it is a lot of time. So ideally, this is something that's happening off on the side on an assembly table while you're doing, other jobs. And if that's the case, 3 hours for your build time is probably an overestimate, but I think that's a fair way to look at it. Then we got waiting time in there, and I'm just, we're not billing for this, but I'm just saying you've got, if you're doing this right, the normal way, you've got quite a bit of time in there waiting for paint to dry. And, you're not going to bill for that, but you do need to be aware of it and kind of factor it into your schedule and whatnot. So just keep it in mind. Now we'll jump down to the bid. All right, that's all you get. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But do me a favor. Hit that like button. Tell YouTube to show this to some other people. Help me out. The bid is, the way I look at these signs, I do so many of these that it's such a common thing that I've kind of just settled on my price for these at $500. And you know, sometimes I win on these, sometimes it's not a huge win. I would call this sort of job, if this was actually a customer job, a big win, because I've been conservative with all these time estimates and the materials. You know, I'm probably overestimating how much time went into it and material, so everything probably would have looked a little bit better than the numbers that are about to show up. If a customer came to me with this and they balked at $500, I'd probably let them talk me down to $450 without even complaining. Maybe $400 if we were slow. If they wanted multiples, I'd be happy to start talking discounts. And multiples, if somebody wants a double-sided version of this sort of sign, you need to consider that multiples, because you're building two separate signs. You can't have the bolt heads from one sticking out the face of the other. So you're building two signs and then making some sort of frame for them. And the frame is what they get as their multiples discount there. So, yeah, $500. If somebody has a crazy logo or a lot of text or something, or they want all the letters mounted individually, this might go $600-700, but $500 is a pretty common thing. And then the other side of it is you just have to think of the mentality of it. You know, it's hard for somebody to look at a 2-foot sign and go, oh yeah, it should be, you know, $800 or whatever. It's, you know, when you make a big sign, it's easier to charge a big amount of money, even though, you know, the labor between identical signs that are different sizes isn't that much different, and the material cost really isn't that much different either, which is why doing big projects is nice. It's easier for a customer to swallow a healthy shop rate, a healthy bid. So we've got our costs. We'll add all this up. $65 is what we're calling it for this one, which leaves my gross profit at $435, and gross profit is just, you know, your bid minus your cost on the job. It's not accounting for insurance and taxes and rent and car maintenance and new tools, none of that. So this is just for the job, and that's why you need a good hourly rate. You guys hopefully have seen my How to Not Suck at Setting Your Hourly Rate video. Your hourly rate is going to be the thing that, you know, a portion of that, in my case it's 40%-ish, is maybe 50%, depending on how busy I am, is going to, you know, your overhead and your upkeep and your upgrades and your future-proofing of your business and taxes and insurance. So gross profit, $435. We're going to divide that by, we called it 4 hours. Again, being conservative, that's going to make our hourly rate $108.75. We're going to call that $109. That's great. My shop rate's $100 an hour, so we overshot it a little bit here, and I'd much rather overshoot than undershoot as long as the customer is happy. So again, if I was going to do this job today, what would I bid? $500. This is a cookie cutter job. It's the same process. It's just different logos every time. If you wanted to save a little bit of money on this, you could do the whole thing at a 16 gauge, but you're going to save like $3, $4. If you want to tell the customer how stout it is, you can do the whole thing at a 10 gauge, and it's going to cost you an extra $10 or something to build it. You just got to, you know, get the feel for how to sell something to your customer, how to make them happy. And yeah, I'm happy at this. $500 for these, like I said, is my standard, which is why I thought this one was a good one to just put out there for anybody that wanted to watch it. Until next time, guys, I appreciate your support. I'll see you around, and I'll catch you all for the monthly Google Hangout in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, I don't know, whatever, first Thursday. Later. All right, guys, I hope you got something from that. If you did, the link to Patreon's right here. Subscribe is going to be down there. We'll have some videos going on over here. The people over on Patreon supporting, helping out, give me a little bit of a buffer, make it make more sense for me to take days off from the shop to stay home and edit videos. I'd love to have your support over there. Even if it isn't your thing or it's not in your budget right now, hit subscribe and stick around for the next one. Thanks for stopping by.